We left at Shloka 45. We took the whole entire class. Quick recap of that Shloka. There was one declaration there that the Vedas, the Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas, they deal with the three gunas. Why? Because as long as the gunas are pulling you outward, you will continue to use various even spiritual practices for material desires. And that is why it connects to the Karma Kanda. And then there were 5 very clear instructions, hard to take in right at the onset because we're only in chapter 2, which is an index chapter. But each of these instructions, they are broken down beautifully right through, right from chapter 2 onwards, from 48, 49 verse, all the way to chapter 80. What were those instructions? First was go beyond these gunas. There are 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. The general instruction for all of us in the Grahastha ashrama is to try and sit established in sattva. But his instruction in chapter 2 is always the highest. Just go beyond the gunas altogether. The next one was to transcend dualities. The world is necessarily made of dualities. Where there is hot, there is cold. Where there is joy, there is sorrow. Where there is health, there is sickness. He says, come in between. This is the 3rd time he said it. Come in between and don't get swayed by either. Next, he says, cultivate sattva. What I just said, raise yourself from tamas, which is the lowest state of inertia and ignorance, through rajas, which is activity, but activity still has a lot of rajasic activity still has a lot of aggression, desires bound to it, and a lot of stress and agitation. So he says, lift yourself to sattva, which is activity, but with that samatvam that he talked about, objectivity. And then he says, let go of anxiety over acquisition and protection. To understand this, we have to plug into the idea that we have come with a particular prarabdha that will be fulfilled one way or another. So instead of trying to run out and forcefully acquire and with agitation protect what you have, where we are creating more and more karmas, just rest, just do what we have to do. We learn that today, what we have to do. And keep your mind and intellect always anchored in Atman. See, none of these instructions are possible if we are not ready to at least begin to suspect that the body is not everything, the mind is not everything, the intellect is not everything. It is not who we are. We have these instruments to negotiate this world, but that is not who we are. We are the eternal Atman. So every time we get caught up in excessive joy or excessive sorrow, when he uses the word Atmavan, what it means is make your mind and intellect, bring it back and anchor it in that one knowing that I am not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm not this intellect, I'm not this overwhelm that is taking a hold of me right now. I am the eternal self. With that, we will move to shloka number 46, which is on page number 316. Yavanartha udapane sarvatas samplutodake तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानताः. The translation reads, to the one who has realized the self, all the Vedas are as useful as a small reservoir when there is a flood of water everywhere. Now, many of the commentaries, they translate this literally, and this verse makes absolutely no sense. There are various commentaries which take this analogy and describe it in different ways. In fact, I think when I was reading, I think even we've gone a bit off beat where we've said small reservoir and big reservoir. But what Swami Chinmayananda says is just to understand that the most authentic translation of this verse is by Shankaracharya. I'll send it to you all. And what Shankaracharya says is, for the truly enlightened Brahmana, the utility of the Vaidika ritual is comprehended in the right knowledge, jnana, just as the utility of tank is comprehended in that of the all-spreading flood of water. I'll send this to you all to contemplate on and just think about it, and you'll understand it better once we understand the shloka. So what is he saying over here? First and foremost, the word that is used is Brahmana. We've touched on this again and again and again. Please understand, Brahmana is not somebody who is born a Brahmin. It's not the caste system, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Shudra, and Vaishya, and all those things. Brahmana means, in this context, the self-realized person, the one who has gone even beyond that Atmavan, and is now fully established in the self, is the self, has self-realized. So that is the first thing. This is not exclusive to any one pedigree of human beings. All of us can reach that state. That is what we need to aspire to now in the human body. So what he said over here is that think about it. Remember, he's still talking about the Vedika portions of the Vedas, okay, where the rites and rituals come in. We've spoken about this for the last 2-3 verses, where they're using rites and rituals to gain more material benefits from the world. Keep that in mind. So what he's saying over here is, once you self-realize, there is no use of any of these rituals. What is self-realization? Self-realization is transcending the 3 states that we are currently interacting in: the waking state, as we are now, the dream state, and the deep sleep state. And we are jumping into the Turiya state, which is the self-realized state. When you reach the Turiya state, all of this that we are looking at, these classes, the study, all of it is revealed as just a dream. What Advaita Vedanta says is the world is illusory. It is a dream. We've studied this in great detail. Please go back to that particular class video, Asat Sat. So it is real, it is relatively real, but when you're in Turiya state, it is no longer of any essence for us to interact purposefully in this particular world. So what he's saying is, once a person is self-realized, or even close, I wouldn't even say self-realized, once you have absolutely understood that I am the Atma and all I need to do is get back to this Atma, you will stop using these rites and rituals for anything more in the world. Right now, and the analogy is beautiful. I'll just go with the analogy of a pond and a flood water. The analogy used here is beautiful. Until there is only one pond of water, all of us have to walk to that pond, correct? Now think about a village life. Nobody in America or Singapore is going to any ponds to draw water and use it every day. But think about a village life. Until there is a pond, you have to go to the pond for various utilities. To wash, for cooking, for everything else. You have to go there, draw. Just imagine, just picture that. You have to draw that water and come back home and use it. But if there is water everywhere, if the entire village is flooded, is there any need to go to that pond for one? First of all, it won't even exist because it's even that is engulfed by the entire flood that has taken over this village. So there's no need for that anymore. In the same way, now if we bring it to this, until we reach self-realization, God, please give me a good job. God, please make my daughter get married. God, please give me good health. God, please give me this. Please give me that. We will keep going to these scriptures, these rites and rituals for 1 or 2 things that we need. But when we realize, there's this beautiful verse that comes much later in the Bhagavad Gita where he explains the activation of Atma within us. So when we reach that Parameshwara level, it starts with Drishta. First, Atma, the Atmic principle within us, is just watching what's happening. And then it starts, contributing, and then it starts helping and all of that. So when it reaches that absolute state of self-realization, you don't need anything to fulfill any of your wishes. You come back to what he said in the previous verse, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham, that I'm here with a particular prarabdha, all will be fulfilled. That Atmic principle is already alive fully within me. I'm fully plugged into that. I'm not running into the world to go and get various little things. So a pond, how much can a pond do? How much can a pond fulfill your desires? Only so much. But if there's water everywhere, everything is taken care of. And it can be used for so much more. Another thing that this verse talks about is that when we are using rites and rituals only for ourselves, we are fulfilling very limited goals in and around us. But when we ourselves become self-realized, we not only fulfill our own wishes, but we are there to bless others as well. Flood water can be dammed, can be used for irrigation. So that movement from I, me, myself, I want this just for myself, to the point of becoming self-realized, where you yourself are the ocean. My yoga teacher used to say something very beautiful. She used to always say that the best gift you can give yourself and everybody else, your loved ones. Just now you're praying for your loved ones, you're praying for this, you're praying for that. The best gift you can give yourself and everybody else is your own enlightenment. And that is why even in chapter 4, when Krishna talks about the various yajnas that we can do, the topmost yajna he declares is swadhyaya, self-study that leads you to realization of the self. So this is what it's saying, that once you are self-realized, once you know your true essence, you are not going to need these Vedika rituals for asking anything in the world. It will all come to you. It will all be given to you. It will all be carried to you. You will not be doing this. And why is it necessary? Because right now we don't understand that we are asking for this and that. We are using all these rituals for this and that. We don't understand that we are plugging heavier into karma. Are you getting that? Are you understanding? When we ask for something, we are getting heavier into that karmic bondage. Remember a few verses ago, Krishna says a little bit of karma yoga and you'll be free from karmic bondage. So karmic bondage will happen when you are asking with a particular, we'll learn that in the next verse, the most famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita. But this, if you get, that as long as I'm asking for things, I am making my own personality stronger. I'm making this jiva's vasana stronger. I'm making my this material aspect very, very strong in the world. And what is spirituality saying? The material aspect has to dissolve and you have to move back into your essence. For that, you have to stop creating more and more and more. Please pause here to understand whatever soul desires you have come with in this life, which is called your prarabdha. And I absolutely believe this with my own conviction. Forget what the scriptures say. What you have come to experience in this life, in terms of desire, even in terms of karma, the worst of karmas. If you stay on the track of spirituality, if you stay on the track of karma yoga, without getting hyper in very colloquial language, rest assured, you are finishing that lot of prarabdha. Are you understanding this difference? Whereas if you start wanting specific things and beating life, give it to me, beating God, give it to me, you're getting further and you're making more and more desires. I'll give you an example. I want a child. There's a lovely story. I'll send it in the voice note later. But you want a child. That is your one wish. You'll have a child. Now the child will have its own destiny unfolding before you. Correct? And that destiny may not be what you have envisioned for that child. A very, very dear friend of mine, so much puja part she did. She had a child, lovely child, grew up, went to LSE London, got married, had a child. 3 months into having that child, she herself, that friend's daughter, got a massive brain hemorrhage and is half not working. It happened when she was 28, that child. Now she's 36 and she happens to be in one of my classes. But do we have control over that? We have wished for the child. That's fine. Now let life unfold. You stop using rites and rituals for that. So when you come to that point of a flood within yourself, a full understanding, I am that Atmic principle, you will stop using spirituality. That Vedika portion of the spirituality will not be important to you anymore. We already studied this in the last class. Our gunas will dictate how we are approaching spirituality. So if you bring the gunas over here, think about it. If you're tamasic, completely, I don't want to do anything, I want God to help me, there is a God and he'll help me. If you're that kind of a person, then you will do these rites and rituals. Give me this, give me that, give me that, give me this. Or you may not even do anything. You'll just say, like one person had come to Swami Chinmayananda and said, Swami Chinmayananda, I have got diabetes. I have got very severe diabetes. So he said, oh, okay, good. He's saying, now I've come in your sharan to cure it. He's saying the medicine you take will cure it. I cannot cure it. You understand? So a tamasic person is like that, who will go to this, I'm not going to do anything, but you give me everything. Then a rajasic person will put in the effort. But every interaction with God is, he's putting in the effort, but give me, give me, give me, give me. So many people go to Tirupati all the way. They will go and donate 1 crore and say, I want 10 crore business. That is a rajasic use of this. Again, a transaction, a barter. What will a sattvika person? I'm not talking about the one who's self-realized. But now us, this panel that has started thinking about sattva, how will we interact with God? Understanding this. Make me the flood so I don't meet the reservoir. I trust in you. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham. I am going to do all that I need to do to the best of my ability. And this verse so beautifully leads into the next verse. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to the best of my ability, but I'm not going to stress over it. I'm going to relax. Give me that understanding. Give me the self. So from now on, whenever we interact with God, it's going to be hard because obviously we want our wishes. Yes, we can put our wishes forward. Let this happen, let that happen. But end it with, I trust you. Don't be hung up on it. A lot of people come to spirituality with all these desires and so sad they leave it because it's not being answered. What they want is not being answered. God doesn't give us what we desire. Not God, I'll take God out of the picture. Life doesn't give us what we desire. Life gives us what we deserve, absolutely deserve. Are we able to understand this much at least? Are we able to understand what is coming in our plate? We've done a whole series, so we better understand this. Is from the laws of cause and effect, right? So, what is in front of us? The good, the amazing, the ugly, the indifferent is all our doing that has ripened in front of us. Now, what this particular verse is saying is start moving away from haggling with this that is in front of you. Come to God and say, give me you. I'll give you two wonderful examples which hopefully will be able to explain this shloka to you. One is Sudama. We all know Sudama's story. He was very, very, very poor, and his wife coached him properly, as wives always do. Coached him properly. You go to Krishna, your Krishna is our Krishna is a king, and you ask him for something. And she gave him strict instructions. All who have wives who nag, you all know what kind of instructions she must have given. Right? Do this, say this, explain how poor we are, explain all this, all this, all this. He goes there. He just looks at Krishna. Krishna washes Sudama's feet. That painting is so beautiful. Just looking at Krishna's love, looking at Krishna's adoration, he forgets what he's even come for. He spends 3 days with Krishna and he doesn't even remember his wife's instruction. He's just lost in that whole devotion for Krishna and Krishna's devotion for him. He doesn't ask a thing. He's got the flood in front of him. He's got the entire flood that this shloka is talking about. And what happens? He goes back, must have beaten his head while he was walking back. Now I have to bear this wife's onslaught when I go back. But lo and behold, he reaches there, and where his jhopdi, half-broken jhopdi used to be, there stands a massive mansion, a massive palace. Do you understand reservoir and this? He could have gone with that small tank pond. Krishna, I'm poor. Give me this. I'll send one story in the voice note. You'll understand this. Give me this. Give me that. He could have said that. He didn't bother. He went straight into that flood of Krishna. What he needed, Yoga Kshemam, was protected. What needed to be protected was protected. What was needed to be given was given. And he got that devotion. And the beauty of it is, the highlight of the story is not that he got the mansion. The highlight of the story is he looked there, saw his children happy, saw his wife happy, did namaskar, walked away, right? Are you all getting it, what I'm saying? This is what that flood we ask of him. And of course, what we are studying, the backdrop of what we are studying, the Kurukshetra war. Arjuna could have asked Krishna for pond. You give me your army, you give me your weapons, you give me your wealth, you give me your resources, you give me your oil, you give me Straits of Hormuz to win this war. He could have said all these things. He didn't even know what was at stake. Pause here fully. I've got goosebumps to think. The Kauravas had 11 battalions. Pandavas had 7. You need to know this contrast. Picture that contrast. The Kauravas had Bhishma Pitama, had Drona, had Kripa, had Karna, had all these valiant, forget Karna Varna, the two sires, grandsires over there. Pandavas had none of it. Even the allies, it is said, that joined the Kaurava team were the greatest kingdoms, the more powerful kingdoms. Pandavas had none of this. And Pandavas didn't even have their own army. Whatever army belonged to the Kuru dynasty was happily sitting with the Kauravas. When Krishna asked, this is my condition, who wants what? And because he saw Arjuna first, he said, Arjuna will ask first. Duryodhana started sweating. My God, now Arjuna is who's going to bat a ball? Today's the pitch condition is for batting. What if he asks to bat? Duryodhana is like so tensed over there. But Arjuna says, I want you without batting an eyelid. Please know, nobody knows the full power of Krishna as yet. The full power of Krishna. Okay? He said, and Krishna gives that condition. I will not even pick up one single astra shastra on your behalf. You have to fight the war. I will be your charioteer. Means I'm just coming for time pass. I'll be your companion. Right? Nobody knew anything, any of this. And he chose Krishna. Blood. Despite all this contrast that we saw between the Kaurava army and the Pandava army, we know who won, right? Arjuna went for the pawn. You give me army, you give me this, you give me that. And it's interesting, I've just started a new class with chapter 1 now. And I was just reflecting, it never struck me before. When Duryodhana is ranting and raving about both the armies in chapter 1, that, look, he's naming the Pandavas. He's naming the Kauravas, a few Kauravas, but he names a lot of Pandavas. It's interesting when he's talking about great heroes, when he's talking about the powerful people in both armies, he's not even mentioned Krishna. And Krishna is the one who changed the entire scene of that war. This is where we are failing. We don't understand. We are not saying it. The Shastras are saying it. Yes, you have a body. He will say in chapter 3. Yes, you have a body. It's all powerful. Your senses. Yes, you have a mind. It's all powerful. Yes, you have an intellect. It's all powerful. But beyond all of that, you have Atma. That is the most powerful. Plug into that. Plug into that flood. All of this will settle. For that, we need a lot of trust. A lot of trust. Until then, it's okay. We can go with our wishes. I want this. I want that. I want that. But when you finish, like my teacher always says, start the day with prayer. You can start with Vakratunda Mahakaya. I want to do this. I want to do this. Remove all the obstacles. But at the end of the day, always chant that verse from Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. I'm dropping everything. Whatever has to happen, you take care of. Start your day with all your wishes. End your day with, I have done my best. Now you do the rest. Every day, if you do this, you will start falling into that trust within yourself. Once you fall into that trust, believe me, you have gotten into the flood. So those are the most important things that are to be said over here. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all will be added unto you. Bible's very famous quote from the Bible, which basically means you plug into your own atmic power. Whatever you want will come to you, right? Secret. You'll have all read that book, Secret, that book of manifesting. So it did very well. You all should read that book. I mean, you all shouldn't read it. It doesn't make sense because it's missing the main part. But in that, it had become a rage in the US actually. So Secret was the art of manifesting. So that whole belief was that you have to keep thinking of what you want. You have to believe you have it, and you have to want it so badly, and you just have to put your whole focus on it. It did well for a while, but then it flopped because people were doing all that and they were not getting what they wanted. Now, in the light of the Bhagavad Gita, will it work? It won't work because now the next shloka, 47, will explain why it won't work. This is the most quoted, the most famous shloka of the Bhagavad Gita, and there are few shlokas that we will say, please learn by heart. So the point is for revision next week, we will all unmute and chant this shloka together. We have to know the shloka by heart. Okay? So we'll chant it together. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhuhu ma te sangostva karmani. So what the shloka says is, your choice is in the action, never in the result thereof, never in the fruit of action. Do not think you are the author of the results of action. Let your attachment not be to inaction. Please remember, this is only the index chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. He hasn't even started speaking as yet, but this is the very blueprint. This is the very gist. This is the very crux of Karma Yoga. Okay? It is the shloka which will explain how we have to function. Remember the thread we've been following? We've come from everybody is using rites and rituals to get something. Remember? Krishna dismisses all of that. Please don't do that. Then he explains in the following verse that he gives us the instructions. Do this. Don't be caught up in dualities. Don't be caught up in the lower gunas. All those instructions he gave us. Then last verse he says, once you're in the Atmic principle, all this will not matter to you because you'll know where your goal is. But how do we do it? This is the how that he gives us, how to do that. Okay. Please understand this is for our material needs as well as for our spiritual needs. I tend to give more weight to the spiritual journey than the material journey, but I will try and cover both. Okay. So what is he saying over here? First thing that he's saying, he's telling us the facts of life. First thing he's saying is your choice is only in the action and attitude. You have to do something. Something comes in front of you. You have to do it. What are the three approaches you will take? One is to act. The second is to not act. Or third is you know what to act, but you'll choose a different action, right? So these three things is what we will do. What he's saying is that action that is in front of you to do is where your entire power lies. All your focus should be in the action, with the action at hand. Stay there. This also tells us that, think about it, whenever we are acting, there's a whole flood of distant work in the past. I failed, or it was so good, it should be better today, this time. We tend to go into the past, right? Or the next line will say, we go into the future. What if it doesn't go the way I want it? Is there any need to do it? Is there any reason for me to do it? I want it a particular way. So what this first line says is compress those two. When Swami Chinmayananda says, bring your mind to where your hand is working. Please understand the mind is running into the past. It worked last time. It didn't work last time. The mind is running to the future. Will it work this time? Converge both of them, bring it to the present moment. Your power is with the action only and the attitude you bring to that action. So that is the first instruction. Now, the next instruction that he says is, you have the fact that he states is, you have no control over the result of action. The way we have studied karma demystified so intricately, I don't think this particular line needs that much explanation. Does everybody get what this line means? That you do not have control over the result of that action, no matter what you try, because there is a whole design at play. It could mean your own karmic consequences. It could mean other people's choices. We are not like hamsters on a wheel all alone. We are sitting with other people's choices, other people's contributions. Third thing is that element of grace, element of fate. What is going to happen? We've seen that. We've seen it in great detail. There are so many things that go into making an action successful. The product of every action is not in your hand. Okay? So stick with the action. The third thing that he says is, you are not, there are two ways. We've said you are not the sole cause of the result. This we've understood. But I love how Gurudev says, Swami Chinmayananda, he says, don't let the motive of the fruit be the reason why you're doing action. Simply what it means is, when you're doing action, it's one thing not to be obsessed with the result. But what this line is specifically saying is, even if you're obsessing over the result, don't be hung up on one particular kind of result. You're understanding that I am preparing, mothers will be able to relate to this. I've prepared this amazing meal. Now, the result I want is everybody to do Paduka Puja of me after this meal. And what are you getting instead? What, mom? I wanted pasta. What is this dal rice you've got in front of me? How much agitation that causes? Do we understand? It's a very simple example. Same thing, put it in your work thing. So the third line, when it says, don't let the motive of the fruit of action be why you're doing the action. Just do the action for the sake of the action because you can do the action. And then the fourth statement he says is, see, a lot of spiritual enthusiasts, this is very sad. And actually, even I've fallen prey to this 30 years ago. When somebody told me about this verse, I was like, if the result is not in our hand, then why act at all? How boring to act. Or even if I'm acting, I'm doing some half-hearted, lackadaisical approach to that action. Okay, I'll do it, but I don't care. That won't work. Because if you approach it like that, rest assured the action is not going to bring any fruit. Forget good, bad, or indifferent, right? So now let's unpack this properly. Whether you like it or not, Krishna will say it in chapter 3, right in the beginning. Every human being has to act. We have to continuously act in this world, right or wrong. Different actions come in front of us. When that action comes in front of us, we absolutely need to stay with the action without going to the past, without going to the future. We should not be doing any action. I want something out of it. Everything that we do is, I want something out of it. After having that attitude, we should also not want a particular motive to be fulfilled. And last, most important thing is, because all these conditions are in place of action, we cannot say we don't want action at all. We will not act at all. When we talk about the fourth statement, especially, I want to rest on it a little bit. Why we need to act, why we have to act. The most important reason why we have to act is that even not acting creates a consequence, right? Even acting creates a consequence. What the Shastras say is that actually the fruit of the action is in the action itself. Because you have acted, this simple thing, I'm taking this class, this has a consequence. Forget the fact anybody is listening. There'll be some consequence in the future. We don't know that. So the action itself has a particular consequence. So when the action is good, when you have put your very best, you've put your sincerity, like we said, the right action, the right attitude, we brought it together and we have acted, please rest assured there will be a consequence. There will be a fruit that is in the making. Now, where we are struggling is we want a fruit at a particular time. But through the Karma Demystified series, we've seen that fruit could come anytime. Remember Drishtaphala, Adrishtaphala, right? I'll tell you one more. This example I gave of mothers cooking phenomenal meals and putting, and the children are saying, what nonsense have you made? I don't know how many mothers cook and do this. 10 Adrishtaphala. When they go off to university on their own, when they come back, I want dal rice. I want khichdi. There they are thinking, what life I had. My God. I used to just come, throw everything, and this hot meal used to be there. Right now, they're kicking the table, kicking the food, not saying, I don't want to eat. Adrishtaphala. So what you have put in right now, that this is why we say to parents, we are teaching them all good principles. We are doing fantastic things with them, but they are just, it's a rebut. It's a constantly butting against us. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. And then the parents say, we might as well not speak only. Adrishtaphala. It is there inside. The seed has been sown. When they are mothers themselves, they will remember this. When they are fathers themselves, they will remember this. You see? So we cannot not act. The problem is why we are not able to act is because of this disappointment. Nothing is coming back to me. Nothing is coming. In the book, we have given a very lovely book referral, which is called The Flow. I think I'll ask Rajesh Menonji to send the name of the book and the author. It's a book that you should read. That very well aligns with this this karmanye vadhikaraste. To get in the flow. I don't know, it was many, many months ago. I think about no, many months, I think more than 6 months ago, where on the Q, Beena or somebody had asked that question, about getting lost in a painting, when a painter gets lost in a painting. And I think the question that time was, is that meditation? So that's not meditation, because meditation requires the intellect to hold the mind towards that mantra Om for the realization of the self. That is different. So meditation is a focused in the spiritual realm. It's a focused exercise that leads to self-realization. But what she was saying there is that flow. If any of you are dancers, musicians, painters, any hobby where you get lost in, that is why we always emphasize that along with your work, whatever you're doing for your profession, make sure you have a hobby. Because in those hobbies, mostly for men, if you'll play golf, if you'll do anything that, just pulls you into that, where you're not thinking of the past, not thinking of the present, you're in it. That flow now, which is happening with things that we like, Krishna is saying, bring it to what your daily life is. Because our daily life is an admixture of what we like and what we don't like. And mostly what we don't like is our karma, which we need to handle. So if we can bring that flow, I'm here in this present moment. If you are a preacher, preach. If you're a teacher, teach. If you're a mother, mother. If you're a father, father. If you're working, work. Whatever you're doing, stay with that and give it your best. What you do, what you give to that action is in itself the fruit. What this verse is saying, that fruit will not come when you want it and how you want it, but it will come better than what you have imagined. Is this very, very clear? There's a lovely motto that was drilled during my Vedanta course when I was studying to be a teacher. My teachers to keep telling us this. Your job, you'll hate this quote. Huh? The quote was, your job is to strive and to struggle, not to succeed. And we were like, Are, why should, if we are not going to succeed, why should we strive and struggle? We were blown away by this quote, and every day it used to end with that. Your job is to strive, to struggle, not to succeed. That is karmanye vadhikaraste. You have to strive. You have to give it your all, your every all you have to give it. You have to do your best. You have to know for a fact that the fruit of the action is already decided by your action. It will come. When suddenly, has this happened to any of y'all? You all haven't really worked that hard a particular year, and suddenly you get a more than necessary promotion or more than necessary bonus. The time that you worked very, very hard, you're like, oh my God, I was expecting this. It didn't happen, right? So those sudden graces, which you say miracle, God's grace, it's come to me. My God, I didn't even imagine such a good thing would happen to me. It's not God sitting over there say, oh, wow, today is Amisha's day. Let's give her this. It is your own perfect action done through this karmanye vadhikaraste, which has now borne fruit, not when you wanted it then. Same thing when we do stupid things in life. So Paramananda Maharaj, I've been listening to him, Paramananda, right? The man with the beard who all, he was saying something, I really like that. Let me try and find that reel. He's saying you have to understand karma is not, yes, there is Drishtaphala and Adrishtaphala as we have studied in the Karma Demystified series, but core karmas, like the big karmas, the big things that we want in life are influenced from many, many, many lifetimes ago. It's ripening now. So, when we say, oh, this person was so good and this person is now suffering, it has nothing to do with the good of this lifetime. That suffering has come from many, many lifetimes ago. And he puts it so beautifully. He says, once you all understand this now, then you all will not get caught up as to why is good people suffering, why is bad people thriving. When bad people thrive, it is their many, many lifetimes of good karma that is giving them that all these results of whatever they are enjoying in life. But what does the Gita say? Forget if you have a good life, forget if you have a bad life. Come back to this and do your best with this life. Moment by moment, every action that is in front of you, give it your every all. And so, wrapping it up, your choice is with the action, with the attitude you bring to your action. Please understand the good fruit of your good action is already in the making. It will take time. Second thing is, you have no control whatsoever over the result. The third thing is, do not expect a particular result from any action that you do. And the last thing is, knowing all this, please do not ever resort to what's the point? I will not act at all. Because if you don't act at all, then whatever is the past will keep perpetuating. There's no chance of you to make something new. What is the future? It is the past modified in the present. So that modification requires action, right action with the right attitude in the present.
I'll start with Shloka 46, and if time permits, we'll quickly touch Shloka 47. Otherwise, I'll give my thought next week. Shloka 46 is just a conclusion of the topic Krishna was discussing earlier. He initiated Karma Yoga earlier, saying that this is the how-to part. You wanted to be somewhere, and right now you are not there. And how can you adopt a lifestyle which is going to give you success in the day-to-day life, at the very same time help you to evolve or move towards that ultimate destination? And this technique is known as Karma Yoga. And Krishna praised it by saying that there is no loss of effort here and there is no side effects here. Whatever little you do, you will progress, and that much benefit you get. And then he clearly discussed most of the times people are engaged in karma, but most of the times the goal of that karma, your ultimate goal of life, is pretty much limited to the material success. Even the so-called religious people, why they approach religion, why they use the Vedic rituals, is just for that material benefit. Yamimam pushpitam vajam prapatanti vipaschitaha vedavadarapta prartha na anyat artha iti. That's what they say. Even they look at the scripture only as a means to gain worldly benefit. And then Krishna advised, yes, the Vedas and all the karmas is for acquiring and possessing or governed by the threefold temperaments or the qualities sattva, rajas, and tamas. And what you need to do is go beyond that. You have to lift your goals. Right now, your goal is artha and kama. Artha and kama means securities and pleasures, which is not bad, which is needed, but you have to elevate that. That is a small goal. You have to elevate your goal so that you will have a better, like when you can achieve 100, why are you limiting yourself with the 10? That is the question. Artha kama is good, but moksha is much above that. So without compromising your material day-to-day need, how can you elevate your goal? So that is why he said, Traigunya Vishya Veda, Nistraigunnyo Bhavarjuna. You go beyond. That is the word you need. Transcend these three gunas. Transcend the limited material gain. That doesn't mean that you don't need the material gain. Krishna didn't say that. He said you go beyond that. Transcend. And then what is the attitude you need to develop for that? Nirdvando nitya satyasto niryogatshema atmavan. For that you have to develop an attitude. You can do the karma. You can do the same karma. Let's say that you wanted to do some agriculture. You can continue to do that agriculture. The only shift is in that mental attitude. You're creating that evenness of mind. You're creating that controlled mind. And with that focus, when you work, that is going to be a different dynamics. It will free you from the bondage of karma. and it is going to give you all the results you need, and it is going to elevate your goal. Nardonto nitya sattvasto. The second word term, the word sattva is used, not related to a guna. Sat. Sat means you're aligning with Atma. If you remember, we said the three names of Atma: Sat, Chit, Ananda. So the first place is the word sattva is used as a guna, and the second time the sattva is go beyond the gunas. You always connect with that sat and niryogatshoma atmavan. Establish in that sat. That is the idea. And now to continue, meaning continuing that point, right? The Gita is very much systematic. From one shloka, it flows to the next one. What is that next shloka? Yavan artha utavani. So he gives a brilliant example. What is that brilliant example? Yavan artha udapani. Udapani means it's a well. So that is the key point here. So typically, when you have scarcity of water, typically you have to go to a water body, or you have to go to a well with limited water. What is the characteristics of a well? The well has some limited water, and also it has the risk of drying up. So you go to that water source and you collect the water. But meaning, to understand this very well, you have to think about, like, I don't know whether you have experienced it during the summer times. Sometimes when you drive through India, you see in a river, even the river is almost dried, completely dried. But you see some wells, people dig in that well. And everyone go to that well in the river for getting the water. Now, when the summer goes, when the rainy season comes, what happens to that well? You don't need to go to that well. The entire river is flooded with. You can pick the water from anywhere. And earlier that water was limited, but you have now plenty of water. That is the idea. So typically what Krishna is saying is that, yes, you can pursue artha and kama. You can pursue the karma kanda of the Vedas. The karma kanda of the Vedas can give you some results, which is artha and kama. But if you pursue moksha, you are getting that type of joy, that type of happiness, which cannot be even compared with the small gains you get artha and kama. So right now, I'm positioned in such a way that for me to get happy, I need to go to a movie theater or a particular place or meet a particular person, right? Scarcity. I look forward to Friday evening so that I can do something. And then what happens? When I come back, it's gone. It's not readily available. But this is how Krishna compares with the pursuing of the artha and kama, either through Vaidika actions, through rituals, or through Laukika actions. So Krishna is saying that you can continue to do the Vaidika karma, you can continue to do the rituals, you can continue to do the worldly activities like investing in a stock or working in a company or doing business. All you can continue to do with that shift in attitude. When you shift that attitude and put the moksha as the highest goal of life, what is going to happen? The happiness will naturally come, and all your artha and kama needs will be fulfilled. This is the idea. One more idea about this shloka is, what is the value of a scripture? The scriptures are needed for you to till you reach that destination. When there is a water scarcity, that well had some value. But when there is water everywhere, what is the value of the scriptures? He doesn't need a scripture. Such a self-realized master doesn't need a scripture. Vedo avedo bhavati, Upanishads tells. For such a master, what is going to happen? Veda becomes useless. See, this is such a revolutionary teaching. Such a revolutionary teaching. So Vidyaranya talks about this in Panchadashi. That's a famous book, Vedantic book. He tells, like, you have rice with husk, and what you do, you remove this husk and take the rice. So scriptures are useless when you understand the truth. So there is not so much of importance to the scripture. Scripture is only a roadmap. Swami Ranganathananda used to give a beautiful example. It's like a pole vault, that pole is useful to gain that thrust and momentum. And when you are on the top, if you hold on to that pole, what is going to happen? You cannot move forward. So at that point of time, the scriptures becomes useless. So that this is not to undermine the value of the scriptures, but you have to understand the scripture is only a roadmap which is going to help me to reach that final destination. And once I reach that final destination, there is no need to get hold on to that scripture and say that, okay, this is everything and everything. No, that's another point. So this is beautifully take us to the beginning of the Karma Yoga. So I'll just start the Karma Yoga and I'll continue my thought. So this is probably one of the most important shloka of the Karma Yoga, sorry, Bhagavad Gita. And as Avanti said, if you want to remember one shloka of the Bhagavad Gita, this is the shloka you should remember, because this gives the art of working, like how to engage with this world. And often this shloka is misinterpreted. A lot of times it is misinterpreted. Maybe by a loose translation from one of the great masters' comment, but unfortunately that happened. There was a loose comment, do your, like, you have the right to do the work. The right is only in doing the work, not the results thereof. It confused people. And there were a lot of criticism against Bhagavad Gita. This is a means for the rich to become rich. So as poor people, our duty is to work, not for the salary. So the Sanskrit is tricky. If you don't understand Sanskrit, it can trick you. So the word used here is athikara. Athikara. One translation is right. The word is karmani evaha athikaraha tve. That is phrase one. Ma phaleshu kadajana. Second phrase. Ma karma phala hedur bhuhu. Third phrase. Ma te sango stvakarmani. This is the fourth phrase. So the word athikara here means it is not the right. It is only means the choice or the control. So you have the control of like how you perform. You have the control of to choose what needs to be done in a given situation and how to execute it. You have control. So you can do all the analysis of the stock market. You can pick and choose. You can use all the tools, and you have the choice to invest the money. And then ma phaleshu kadajana. That is the second phrase. The second phrase is saying that yes, you have some indirect control of the result, but you do not have the full control of the results. So the result is your effort plus some X factor. Some X factor. Sometimes what do you do? Remember the karma demystified? We talked about this a lot. Like if you are flowing with the current, if you put 1 unit of work, you get 10 units of results. That can happen. And let's say that if the current is opposite, what is you may put 15 units of work, you get 1 unit of result. So there is always an X factor between you and karma. Sometimes it is going to help you, sometimes it is not at all touching you, sometimes it can completely go against you. So don't please understand that you are not the author of the result. Yes, you have some control, some indirect control, but not the entire control. Your choice is only to put that, do your best, invest in the right stock. Immediately something happened, a war happened. What is going to happen? The stock market is going to crash. You do not have much control. A company, some CEO did a scam. What to do? You invested all the money in that company stock. No choice. So that is the second part. And ma karma phalahe durubhuhu. Made sangosta akarmani. Karma, you are not the author of you are not the full control over the result. Where you have the control over the action, you have control over the results. But since you do not have control over the complete results, don't go to inaction. If you don't act, nothing is going to happen. So this is the gist of this shloka. We will do a little bit more analysis on that next week because this is such an important shloka. So bring your perspective also. You can see the same idea in the modern leadership management classes a lot. We can deep dive a little bit into that, but that is where we are. I think we are at the top of the hour, so probably we can stop here. Next week we can continue this shloka, and probably Avanti, we can take some Q&A because this particular portion people may need, so we can always discuss that if that is helpful.
My suggestion is always to send your Q&As in the questions in the chat because, when we answer in limited time, this is the way we've been taught. It does not answer fully. Whereas if we are able to give the Gita needs breathing space. It's not about, remember Swami Chinmayananda said, it's not whether you've gone through the Gita, it's whether the Gita has gone through you. So think about it. Also, we need to, once we take in the knowledge, we need to think a little bit to have the right questions. When you think the answer should come from within you only. Sometimes when you're asking the question only, you get the answer if you do it right. Yeah, so please feel free to put in for both Ramayana and for Gita. Put the questions in the Q&A with great clarity. It will be answered, each one from all angles.
Yeah, I agree. That would be the best way, because we will be able to answer, because otherwise we'll need to answer that in a minute. We cannot do justice to the answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajesh. Thanks, Avanti.
Thank you.